Welcome, everybody, to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Holly, and I am so excited today to have Henna Metz here with us. She is a nature and outdoor photographer who loves to share the beauty of nature with others. Through her photography, storytelling, and positive attitude, she hopes to inspire people to help preserve the diverse ecosystems we live in and remind you that it's not too late while making it all feel like one grand adventure. Her wildlife portraits have already received a lot of praise within her community, and she is known to be bring her camera with her and shooting through any adventure, even if that means carrying her gear while riding a half wild horse through the Mongolian steppe. You'll have to tell me so much about this, Henna. Welcome, Henna. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you.
So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you live.
Yeah, I'm Henna Metz, born and raised in Finland, but for the last 10 years I lived in the Netherlands. And growing in Finland, the whole nature and love for wildlife pretty much became a part of me. Like, there's a lot of nature down there, and the first half of my life I lived pretty much on the countryside. So that's where a lot of that is coming from. And then always a creative kid, so eventually I just kind of figured out that nature and outdoor travel photography was kind of my thing.
That's amazing. So what was some of those early signs that you were falling in love with both nature and photography? Walk us through some of that.
I think I got my first camera when I was 7. Before that, I was already really artsy kid. Like, I was always a top student in art class, not so much on the academic subjects. And in my teens, I started leaning more heavily into photography specifically. And then for the past 10 years, I've been really pursuing it first as a full-time hobby, and then now building a career out of it.
That's amazing. So what does a day in your life look like then with your business?
It changes a lot. Like, if I'm out on the field shooting, it can be, you usually get up really early in the morning. It's a lot of hours spent being really uncomfortable and patiently waiting. That's what you do most of the time. You wait. And so it's not, a lot of people think that it's super exciting all the time when they see the end result photos, but most of the time you're just cold, tired, and uncomfortable.
So what gives you the energy to sit there so patiently and wait? Like, what does that feel? I'm assuming, like, for me, I can imagine, like, as you're waiting, like, you have this anxiety, and then as you're able to start seeing that, like, there's going to be that moment we're going to get that shot. Like, walk us.
The thing is, sometimes you don't get the shot. Like, I've had whole trips where I basically came home almost empty-handed. But the thing is, like, and that's also why I know that this really is my thing, because even when I'm waiting there for nothing, and soaking wet boots, being attacked by mosquitoes and flies, like, it's not glamorous life at all, but I still really enjoy it, and I do love being out in the field, even if I really love the process of it, even before I get the end result. And then when things line up and you get a great shot, that's just so much more rewarding.
Yeah, it's like that sweetness, right? Because you've waited so long and you've been so patient. And like you said, like, there's sometimes when you go out and you don't even get a shot that you wanted, and you go home empty-handed. But then when you get that beautiful shot and you're able to go home and develop it and see what you captured, I can only imagine the magical feeling that you feel during that point.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So who do you create these this work of art for? Like, who is kind of your ideal client and people that are really diving into this?
Yeah, at first, obviously, it started just like for anyone interested in the niche. But now that I'm building more of a career out of it, where the actual market is more in editorial and commercial work, and then conservational projects.
Yeah, that's cool. So you're finding that you're getting a lot of people that are interested, and you're really able to identify what your niche is and who you're targeting for that work. Do you have a lot of people then that come to you and ask you specifically to try to get specific shots, or is it more?
Absolutely. Like sometimes, like I have a decently engaging audience on Instagram, so that's where I mostly get conversation going over photography in general and what it takes to get those shots. And yeah, if anyone ever takes the time to reach out to me and ask me these questions, I always do my best to give them the answers and give the advice that I can.
Yeah. So how did you know that you wanted to start with this realm? So take us back a little bit in that journey. I know that you said that you kind of were going out there and doing this on your own, but like, when was that moment for you that you knew this was like your passion and your calling and what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I was a really kind of a wild nature child growing up, always around animals. I grew up on farms, etc. So the whole love for nature and animals comes from there. But when I first decided I wanted to eventually do photography for a career, it took me actually a while before it clicked that that should be my niche. I was really thinking from the point of view that it has to be a viable business and there has to be a good, stable market for it. So I was thinking I would end up doing like weddings and portraits and that kind of stuff. And I know some incredible wedding photographers, so I've got nothing against the field, but I shot 2 weddings myself. And I just realized it was really not for me. Like that was not something I really enjoyed doing. Like even though I really love photography, but I had to find a way to do it in the way that interested me the most. And weddings and family portraits and that kind of photography just wasn't for me.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to kind of identify that was not for you? Because I know a lot of photographers, and I know a lot of times they do pretty much any kind of work. Like you said, they'll do family photos, newborns, weddings, and all these things. But at some point you start to get that feeling that I want to niche down. Like I love this type of work so much more. When did that happen for you?
I shot a couple of weddings and then kind of realized that I really don't want to do this. And then I basically watched some other photographers that are within my niche, so doing a lot of conservational wildlife photography, outdoor adventure photography, and I saw a couple of interviews. Don't ask me which specific ones, but in general. And they were talking about documenting these species or experiences and really going into the like difficult and extreme sides of it. And I was just there listening to it, and that sounded great to me.
Awesome.
And getting face to face with animals that are perceived as dangerous attracted me a lot more than shooting a wedding.
Yeah. And so do you only photograph mostly horses then, or what other, like, are there other animals that you photograph?
No, I most of the time I shoot wildlife. Okay. And what I prefer shooting is predators, and especially large predators that often have a bit of a misunderstood reputation. But because I've lived on horse farms. Before I started doing my photography business full time, I ran a horse farm by myself for a couple of years. So, and I've done a lot of multi-day horse riding treks. So that's where I kind of combined that side of my life with the outdoor adventure travel. So if I'm doing a multi-day trek and I'm riding a horse, I bring my camera with me and I document the trip and the journey from the saddle. So, which gives me a lot of pretty cool perspectives for the photos and the ability to catch moments that, you wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah, you mentioned that you photograph like predators. Could you tell us a little bit like what type of animals, when you say predator, and maybe take us like on one of your journeys?
A lot of brown bears. So that would be grizzlies in the States.
Yeah.
I've photographed them a couple of times, and so I've got a large portion of my body of work is brown bears or grizzlies. Then smaller predators like foxes. I was just in Norway and I was photographing killer whales. And my next trip will be in April to Belarus, where I'll be hopefully finding some wolf or lynx or both.
Wow, that's so cool. So how do you tell us a little bit about some of those emotions that you're feeling while you're out there? So I can only imagine myself, like I've been camping before where there were grizzly bears on the campsite, like while we were sleeping, and they didn't really mess with the people too much. But what is that feeling like for you when you're so close to a grizzly bear?
Honestly, to be honest, I've never felt scared in those situations. I think part of it is I grew up in the forests, and I have a good enough understanding of the behavior of these animals, and I know that they avoid people if they can. I used to live surrounded by forests that had bears living in there, and neither me or anyone in my family ever seen a sign of them except for sometimes like tracks in the snow.
Yeah.
And if they detect you before you detect them, they'll be long gone before you have a chance of seeing them. And if you manage to surprise them, they will usually head the other direction really quickly.
Yeah.
Most of the time, as long as they don't feel like threatened and cornered. Yeah. The most dangerous situations are usually if you get too close to one that's just woken up from hibernating, or alternatively, if you get in between a mama bear and its cubs.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that mama bear phrase doesn't come for no reason. It's directly from them.
Yeah.
So wow, so you grew up around a lot of nature and a lot of predator type animals then. So it's kind of something that probably you just got very used to. Because I live I'm in like big city life. Like we have coyotes, but like we don't see them usually too often. They don't come down too often. So I can imagine you're very comfortable then just being in that environment. So it's not even, you don't have to like think about it like being worried. It's more of, it's just kind of who you are and what you grew up around, and you're very used to that, which is awesome. Because I can remember that time that I was camping and there was a bear like a few camps over. I was like in my tent thinking like, well, which kid am I going to throw first at this bear if the bear comes into our tent? Because I was so not accustomed to it. And so it's just funny for me because I'm like, I don't know that I would want to be that close to a bear, to be honest. But you're out there and taking pictures, and you're right up next to them, which is amazing.
Yeah. I lived in Finland full time for 20 years, and even after that, I kept going on holidays and so on, and I never saw a sign of a bear until I really made a point of trying to find them and photographing them.
Yeah. So you said that a lot of times like they know that you're there before you even get a chance to see them. So how do you, as a photographer who's trying to grab a picture of them, how do you hide yourself or keep yourself so quiet for so long that they don't even know that you're there?
Yeah, in Finland, you use a lot of these specific kind of hide huts, and where they take some measures of they like basically also if you're out of sight, they're usually a bit more comfortable, and yeah, you need to avoid loud noises and making a lot of movement in general. So yeah, as long you just basically try and stay as quiet and invisible as possible.
Yeah. So
And
cool.
there's definitely been, I've got a few photos where like I've been there for a while, the bear's been there for a while, and it's kind of figured out that there's something there. But because I'm not doing anything threatening, they're kind of relaxed and they're just doing their thing and letting me do my thing. And then I've got these like few photos where you can see that the bear is looking straight into the camera, but it's just chilling there.
Yeah. Well, such an amazing experience, I'm sure, for you. And such like a thrill ride, I would imagine. Like your emotions are probably pretty high, and you're like you're excited you're getting the picture, and you're excited because you're like right next to such an amazing animal. So cool. So with your business then, what have been some of the biggest obstacles that you feel like you've had to overcome?
Definitely getting organized enough to actually have a clear enough plan to get everything done on the business side. Because with the photography, you can't plan out a shoot. You can plan certain things, and you should plan them to the best of your knowledge. Like you should be well educated on which location to go to, how to behave, what time to be out there, like where the odds are bigger of seeing animals. But you can do everything right, and then they just don't show up.
Yeah.
And so you kind of need this ability to just go with the flow and write it out and either adjust or just wait it out and see what happens and so on. But then when I started doing this as a business, there's a lot more things that actually need to be done, and you need to schedule things and so on. So I think that's been probably the biggest struggle to get the good enough structure and plan into the business side of it.
Yeah, I can imagine, because especially in your instance, like you can show up and do so much, but you're waiting for the animal or whatever it is that you're taking that day. Like you're waiting for them to do their part of it, right? For them to show up so you can get the perfect photograph or whatnot. So what have been some of like the successes that you've had then? Like what would you say is like your greatest success since you started your business?
Oh.
Yeah. What is your greatest success that you've had with your business since you've started? Henna, are you there?
Hi.
All right, you're back. Perfect. So I was just asking, what was some of the greatest success that you've had since you started your business?
Successes. Yeah, basically getting the whole plan and business side of it rolling. So basically improving the things that I've actually got that stuff now working out pretty nicely. And yeah, on the process of sorting things out, I've just had some I was just having some conversations with some photo editors in the States, and getting some pretty cool recognition over the quality of my work. And yeah, to be honest, biggest probably is like actually finally getting started with it and actually going for it.
Yeah. And it's such an accomplishment, right? When you have this dream and this vision to go forward with your business, and
yeah,
it takes some gutsiness and some bravery and some confidence to get out there and hang up your business name and say, hey, I've been doing this for fun and I love doing it so much that now I want to do this for a living and I want to make a career out of it. And
exactly.
So yeah, I can see. So how long has it been then since you've been doing this professionally?
It was kind of a slow start. I started, I registered my business name closer to 2 years ago, but I was still running the horse farm until about a year ago. So I couldn't really jump in full time until I had finished that properly because I was living there. I was doing everything by myself. So I just didn't have the necessary time. So now we're getting closer to a year.
That's amazing. And so it's not really your first business then, because I'm imagining the horse farm was a business for you.
Yeah, well, it was a family member's business.
Okay.
But I was working for them and running it basically for them. But I wasn't. Yeah, I was employee rather than. But yeah, that was a lot of hard work and keeping a lot of moving pieces going.
Yeah. And I can imagine that you learned a lot during that time that has now been able to transfer over to your business as well. So it's
absolutely.
That's like the beautiful thing, whether you're working for somebody else or even working in your own business, like you can take all of those different life experiences and they don't just go away because you start your own business. You have that ability to like pull the leadership skills that you've had or what you've learned during that time frame and really use those skills and hone them in to make your business even better. So it's one of my favorite things. Like when I look back at my career, I was coaching long before I called myself an actual business coach because my background was in HR and training and development. And when I found coaching, I was like, wait a minute, like people make careers out of coaching. And I've been doing this my whole entire life, but I didn't know I was doing it. So it's kind of like a cool thing when you look back and you're like, all those life experiences just carry on into your business.
Yeah.
With who you are. So it's pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. And like now thinking back, me ending up as a photographer in my niche specifically makes a lot of sense considering how what my interests and passions were growing up already starting from childhood.
Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes it takes us a little while to realize that, right? But when we look back at our life, you're like, oh, I've been doing this my whole entire life. Why did I not look sooner? But it's because this is who you are and this is who you're meant to be and this is the work that you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes it takes us as entrepreneurs a minute to realize that like there's all these breadcrumbs that we've had that we've left behind. And as we look back and start picking them up, like you can piece together like those things that were leading you to where you're at today.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you then. So what's next with your business? Like, do you have any big projects coming up or any big things you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I'm in April. I'm going to Belarus and hopefully find wolves and lynx for a few days, and then I only just started free diving and getting into underwater photography last year to expand my niche into that direction as well. So I can also photograph marine wildlife. So I'll be definitely doing some more projects with that as well.
That is so exciting. When I was younger, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and my whole like vision was I wanted to swim with Shamu with pillar whales. And now as an adult, like I'm like, I don't even know if I could do that. But I have like that childhood memory still where I'm like, it would be so fun and so exciting to have that ability and the chance to be so close to these animals that we don't get to see really unless you go to like, I know here in the States, like you can go to like SeaWorld down in San Diego and you can see some of the animals, but it's such a different habitat. It's not their normal everyday life. So that'll be such a fun experience, I can imagine, for you to go underwater and to be so close to these animals. What types of animals, like what's your like top choice for animal, like for
killer whales. Killer whales have been one of my favorite animals as long as I can remember. And Yeah, so I did that already last month, and I'm already planning on going again, hopefully next season. And if not, the one after that. And then this time, just get the whole boat to myself and make sure that I'm the only person in there in the water, getting myself like more of access. So yeah, I did that, and I already want to do it again, but better.
Yeah, that's so cool. So do you ever, you're such a brave person. I feel like having this conversation with you, like you're putting yourself so close to animals that a lot of people are so afraid to be around. What do you think, what is it about it that excites you so much and allows yourself to have the confidence to go in and do what so many people are afraid to do?
Yeah, well, a lot of these are species that I've always been intrigued over, and even as a kid, studied things about. So, despite them having a bad rep, I know that as long as you don't harass them or put yourself specifically into a dangerous situation, they're not just going to come out of the blue and attack you for no reason.
Yeah.
And especially with the large predators, they have a really important role in our ecosystems. And then the fear usually leads into hate, and that usually ends up with mass destroyment of a lot of these species. Like most of Europe doesn't have wolves anymore. They used to roam in the whole continent, and most of the Europe doesn't have them anymore. And there are some really cool rewilding initiatives at the moment, trying to bring them back and bring other species back. So yeah, if I can do something to reduce that fear-based hatred in some people, that could lead to a better status with these animals, and then improved ecosystems and in general.
Yeah, and I think you're so right, because so many of us we're trained, right, by society that we're supposed to be afraid of these animals and to stay away from them. And if you see them, see a bear, act big, or stay away from, don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. But you're right, like the animals are like, we're coming into their territory, we're coming into their habitat, and that's their home. So it's only natural that we respect the fact that that's their area and where they live, and to be respectful and to, not be afraid of them, but make sure they know that you're there and that you're not trying to hurt them. And it's such a cool way that you get to put yourself out there and bring that back to other people too, because there's so many people that don't go out and they're not as adventurous as you. They're not putting themselves in situations. So these photographs that you're getting are teaching so many people about things that they just have no awareness about, because they live in the city or they live away from it and they just don't have the ability to see it every day. And in their mind, it's
exactly
scary. So how can we best support you on this journey that you're on?
Yeah, I'm on my website is hennametz.com. And then other than that, I'm mostly active on Instagram, which is where I update a lot of what's going on. And yeah, other than that, if anyone is interested in anything that I could do to provide value, like if anyone's interested in doing something like this, maybe even as a hobby, like I'd be absolutely interested in hearing that.
Yeah. No, I can totally imagine that there's people that are like, I want to do what you're doing, because you're putting yourself out there in such a fun, brave way. And it's different because, especially like I live in the States and it's big city life, like there's just not the ability to be around so many different animals. But I love that you you immerse yourself into it and go to their space and really get to learn more about them and take these amazing photos of animals that, we don't get to see every single day.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to ask you a couple fun questions just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit better. And you haven't got these questions, so you have no idea what I'm going to ask. So I love doing this. So I want to know if you have a morning routine.
Not really. I'm more of a night person. So my morning routine is usually kind of taking it easy at first. I say in, especially now that I can again. Like when I was running the horse farm, like it was like get up, go out, feed the horses before I even think about morning coffee. But now I usually just laying in bed for a while, and then if I'm assuming that this is not a day that I'm going out to shoot, then I might just get up super early, and then you never know. But if it's a normal day, then I go to the stables and ride my own horse or help training some young horses and get a bit active in the fresh air with that as a hobby now rather than a profession.
Yeah.
And then from there on, I head on to the office and do whatever needs doing that day.
Awesome. And who would you say is one of your biggest influencers or people that have made the biggest impact on you with your career choice?
Well, when it came to actually learning a lot of this and figuring out how I can do all of this, he's not actually a photographer in my niche. I don't know if you've heard of Chase Jarvis. He's the CEO of Creative Live, which is a learning platform.
Yes.
And he's incredibly inspirational. And Creative Live has been my main learning platform that I've used. And I've met him once at a convention in Amsterdam as well. And he's just, when it comes to creative inspiration and motivation, he's an amazing resource for all of that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I love that there's so many people that we can be influenced by, and everybody has different people that have made that impact on their heart and they've been able to watch and observe. So I love that you have someone who you've been able to have that experience with.
Yeah, and also I've been incredibly lucky with the fact that most of the people in my inner circle are so my mom, my brother, they're also people that are literally doing their passion jobs for a living rather than just having a career for the sake of the career. So I haven't really gotten any resistance for going for it from the people closest to me.
Yes, which is so amazing because I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that because sometimes their whole entire family has careers and they have jobs and they aren't entrepreneurial spirited. So they struggle sometimes because they don't have the support or they don't have the people around them to get the support that they need. So I love that you have that already. Yeah. So important. It's so important because if you don't have it, that's why I have my Facebook community and different things that I have is because there's so many people that I talk to that don't have the support. So I try to create a space and a community where people can come together and get what they need because not everybody understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how to do this on their own. And that's totally fine. Some people are just not cut out to be entrepreneurs. But we want to make sure that we have the support and the resources and the tools to come around us so that you can get what you need from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to ask, you might have already told us where this is, but I always am curious, what's your favorite way to recharge and your favorite, like your happy place, when you need to go and take a break from life and get fueled back up? I don't know if it's on the farm with the horses or if there's another way that you
sometimes. I'm definitely more introverted than extroverted, so I need my quiet time to really recharge. Yeah. And also the whole being out in the field and photographing, especially when I'm in remote places, that really does recharge me, which is also why it's pretty easy for me to have these early mornings if I'm going out shooting. If I need to get up for something else, don't even talk to me before 2 cups of coffee. If I'm going out shooting, I can get up before sunrise and be out until noon before even having any coffee.
Yeah, no, so fun. Well, thank you so much, Henna, for being on the show with us today and sharing your story and telling us all about your adventures and your travels. I know a lot of people are going to be inspired by the fact that you go out there and do brave things that so many people aren't willing to do. So thank you for sharing your journey and your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening in. If you enjoyed the show, like I hope that you do, please leave a comment and let us know. We would love to hear what questions you have and engage with you further on. So thank you so much for being here today, and we will talk soon.